Thank you to everyone who has joined us today. My name is Danielle Eggersley and I'm the Engagement Advisor at Engineering New Zealand for Students and Young Engineers. We are very lucky today to have Suki Xiao along with us, the founder of As You, here to give us a talk and some tips on how to find your dream job. And also a big thank you to the Bay of Plenty Committee, Young Engineers Committee, who have organised this webinar today. So I really hope you enjoy, and Suki, take it away.
Thanks, Danielle, for the introduction, and thank you all for joining during this lunchtime. Really happy to see you all here. I'll start sharing my screen. And Danielle, you can give me a thumbs up or something if you can see that, or unmute yourself so that I know.
Yep, you're all good.
Awesome. Welcome to this lunchtime webinar on how to find your dream job. How this is going to roll today is that I will be talking about a personal story of my career journey, and then we'll go into Q&A. So do drop your questions into the Q&A box as you may during this time. I would really love to hear from you. What are you thinking about? I quite like starting all my presentations with a quote. And this is one that I found on the internet by this Irish author called Alan Rain. And it says, you may get to the very top of the ladder and then find that it has not been leaning against the right wall. So this is a story of my career journey, how I have built multiple ladders and how it hasn't been leaning against the right wall. And at the end of it all, I have done away with this concept of ladder building. So hi everyone, my name is Suki and I am a career coach. I'm 31 or turning 32 soon, really aware of my age. And I've started this company called asyou.org or As You Limited. And I am here to help people or professionals to find a dream job and redefine their grind. And my journey started, well, let's go back a step for what I thought is success and how I've arrived here. So I thought success when I finished university or at university age, I thought by the age of 21, I would have graduated from my university degree, have had my first job. By the age of 25, I would have gotten married and have had a great career. And by 30, I would have had kids and have stable income. That's what I thought success was. And guess what? Most of that has not been achieved. And how my story has started was when I was younger, and I moved to New Zealand when I was 12 with my mum and from China. So being a Chinese daughter, education was a very important thing. So ever since I was little, I achieved really high grades, was already on the podium for first, second, or third for awards. And this trend continued on through to my university days. So at university, I studied commerce and law. Commerce was something that I wanted to study, and law was something that, well, a Chinese family wanted all their kids to study, either law, engineering, being a doctor, medicine, or accounting. So, and my mom wanted me to be a lawyer, so I chose law and commerce. At that time, I actually wanted to study arts because I wanted to study psychology. I was really into how people behave. But no, because what is an arts degree going to get me as a job? So I didn't go down that path. And this trend of fulfilling expectations of my family and of society continued on, that from university, from a BCom and LLB degree, the next thing that a graduate is supposed to do is to get into a big four accounting firm or a law firm to work as a lawyer. So I got into KPMG as a tax consultant as my first job. And at that time, I was actually really proud of myself. And I thought there was nothing wrong with fulfilling expectations that I've set up on myself. And I had a dream of my career looking like this, that I would do 2 years at KPMG, getting some good CV brand on my CV, and then I'll jump to become a finance lawyer for the Financial Markets Authority, which was setting up at the time for New Zealand, being a new New Zealand agency for the financial markets in in here. And then, of course, I would get married, have kids, right? That was part of my dream, part of my success. And guess what? The 2 years that I planned for myself at KPMG did not last 2 years. I only lasted about 1.5 years because I felt like that I was a cog in this big machine. Lots of people. I was one of 40 graduates in that year, and in the Auckland office there were 200 to 300 people in my department. So that was really, really big. I felt like a cog in the machine, and I hated the timesheets in accounting firms, and in some professional services firms like law firms as well, had to clock in every 6 minutes about what I was doing. So I remember going to the bathroom and go like, oh, what am I going to clock this 6 minutes of time to? I was feeling stressed from this time sheeting. And I also remember that the graduates that I came into the KPMG with, we were all very unhappy. We would complain during our lunchtime about how meaningless the job felt, and we felt like a cog in the machine. So this 8 to 6 grind that I was grinding at the start of my career, I really did not enjoy it. And it got so bad to the point that I was going home on the bus and I would just sob consistently every single day. And I didn't realize how bad I was mentally and emotionally until I broke up with my first ever boyfriend, and that was like heartbreaking. For breaking up with first love was so heartbreaking, and I was just not in a good mental state at the time. So from this heartbreak, I knew something needed to change, because it's not normal that a job would affect all parts of my life so much that would lead to something like this. And so at the time I thought about my change, and I still had that dream of going into the Financial Markets Authority to become a finance lawyer, to combine the commerce degree as well as my law degree really well there. And then I also thought, okay, what else are the opportunities? Because I knew I needed to get out of a KPMG. So I asked myself a really typical question at the time. And this is a question that a lot of us ask when we are considering a job change, is this question of, what do my skills match up to? Given what experience I've had, and also what degree I've studied, what jobs can I get with these skills that I have? So with the skills that I have as a lawyer, as well as the analytical skills and writing skills from KPMG, what was the other option was being a policy advisor in government. And at the time, I didn't really know what a policy advisor meant. And I was really lucky that I had both of these offers, of the offer being in Financial Markets Authority as a finance lawyer, as well as being in Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment as a policy advisor in their commercial and financial laws area. And the mentor at the time was really helpful and gave me this piece of advice, was that when we're unsure about which contract or which job to take, then it is to sit in front of those two pieces of offer, those two pieces of paper, and see which one we would sign our name to. So I decided that I would abandon this career ladder that I was going to climb of finance lawyer, because I could imagine if I took that offer, I would be stuck in the cubicle for the next 10 or 15 years of my life. And I didn't want to be reading case laws after case laws and making arguments. Like, that's really not who I am. So I abandoned that ladder and then jumped to the other ladder of the policy advisor role. And at the time, I really didn't know what that was about. So I had to redefine what my success was, rather than just climbing the career ladder that I thought I was going to climb, and redefine what I can take on as risk, as well as what I needed to let go of, letting go of that expectation or that plan that I've set for myself. So I took this job in Wellington, moved from Auckland to Wellington, and went into this whole scene of government and understanding how policies get made, and how that gets made is by policy advisors analyzing what are some settings and structures that we have in New Zealand, whether that's for our financial law or commercial law, and then advising that to the minister, and minister takes that through to the government to become a law that we have today. So that I really understood how the New Zealand government worked. And through that time in Wellington, it was the first time that I was living away from home as such. And I really felt like that I could become a new version of myself. So I was really finding myself in Wellington. And I got into Youthline as a volunteer for their phone counseling services. So I was talking to young people on the phone, understanding their emotions, helping them through working through their emotions. And I really felt like I was a butterfly. I was like expanding my wings in Wellington. I really enjoyed my time during that. And then it hit me about the mere type of feeling like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm liking this type of feeling. It hit me about the 18 months to the 2-year mark. And I've got this personal theory of mine that no matter what job or location or a person that we are with, with the first year of being in that job or in that location or in that relationship, everything's new. So we're all excited and we're learning lots. So we're not thinking about whether we need to move on. And then the second year is when we get a little bit more comfortable. We know where we stand and the skills that we're gaining. And then by the end of the second year or the end of the 1.5 year mark, that's when we start to consider whether this is something that we want to stick it out for longer. So that I got to that point of the 18 months to the 2-year mark with the policy advisor role. And then I was getting this feeling of like, I'm not too sure where I want to go next. So I was asking myself, where am I going next? Because I felt like that doing more policy advice, I felt like, well, wasn't really going to make a difference because government is quite slow as a machine. So I knew that something needed to change. So I went back to that question that I asked myself before, what skills do I have that will match up to another job? And I added a new question this time of what do I like doing? How I came up to this new question of what do I like doing is from this concept from Japan called Ikigai. Ikigai means your calling, your purpose, your meaning for existence. And their model, the Japanese model, has 4 circles. But for my simple mind, I quite like to simplify things. So I simplified it to 3 circles. I thought 4 circles was just a little bit too much. So the first circle that I term is as what you like doing. This is your passion, this is your interest. And the second circle consists of what your skills are, your strengths. And then the third circle is made up of what would the world pay you for and need you to do. So the intersection of these 3 circles of this Venn diagram would get you that purpose, that guiding light, so that you know where you want to go next. So I looked at this model, and then I looked at all the experiences that I've had gained so far from KPMG, from the government policy advisor role, as well as my Youthline volunteering counselor role. I looked at what did I like from these experiences that I had, and what skills have I gained from these. So what I like from them, it's mostly from the policy advisor role as well as the phone counselor with Youthline. I really liked that I could feel like I was making a difference, whether that is for the young people that I was counseling or for New Zealand. And from the counselor role, I really liked the increase in my self-awareness and concentrating on personal development. And the skills that I've gained are the following. The top ones, analytical and the writing skills, were from policy advisor role as well as the KPMG role as a tax consultant. And then the bottom ones are the ones that I really like using, are the listening, counseling, and training. And those were all from my volunteer role in Youthline. So I thought, oh, it should be pretty simple, right? The intersection of all these 3 circles, it's like a computer equation. I'll just go, what I like doing plus what are skills that I have, then I should go da-da, computer equation. What roles would it get me? One is a counselor. That's a combination of all those skills and what I like doing. Another one is organizational psychologist. So I looked into these two roles more deeply, and I thought, wow, I don't really want to be a counselor full-time, doing that 40 hours of every week. That's quite a lot to be working through other people's emotions as well as mine. And then for the organizational psychologist role, I also ruled that out, because if I had taken that arts degree with a psychology major, I wouldn't need to have another 7 years of study in order to become an organizational psychologist. With my commerce and law degree of 5 years of study, I really didn't like university that much. So I wasn't going to be prepared to go back for another 7 years in order to become a psychologist. So I ruled out both of these options. And looking at this model, I was still like, okay, no clarity, because the two jobs that I arrived at, they weren't the ones that I wanted to be or was willing to put in the effort to be. Then I remember this quote, which is really misattributed to Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein did not say this quote of definition of insanity, which is, if you keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result, then that's being insane. So I know that I can't just keep on being the policy advisor, because I know that I really don't like it. So I needed to take more risks to discover more, so that I know what I would like better. The risks that I took on at the time were, firstly, having conversations with lots of people, including my manager, about this policy advisor role is not really suitable for me. I'm looking for something else. This is a tip that I'll give right here, is that a lot of people would think, okay, when I want to have a career transition, I don't want to tell my manager, because I'm scared if I tell them, then I would be performance managed out. But actually, as a manager, as a leader of an organization, I would rather know if you are considering a career move, a change, because I would like to help you to get to the next role, whether that is within the organization or outside of it. And the last thing that I want is to receive a resignation letter on my desk without any notice, because I would feel as a manager, as a leader, that I have failed you to help you to find your job that really is suitable for you. So I took that risk of having that conversation with my manager. And another risk that I took was I started to say yes to a lot of opportunities, because the mindset that I had at the time was like, wow, what is the worst case scenario by me saying yes to a lot of opportunities, and by me having those conversations with lots of people about how I want to have a shift in my job. So from talking to my manager about how I wanted to change and seeking more opportunity, he actually got me into a secondment into this government and business accelerator called R9 at the time. So the accelerator is a startup bootcamp, typically over a 3 month period, where entrepreneurs from government as well as from business come together to solve a problem. So I got onto this accelerator, and I felt like, wow, this is a major shift, and I loved it. This is the first time I was so happy in my job. I was 25 at the time, and that's the first time that I got in touch with this methodology, this mindset called Agile. So Agile is a mindset where we work in teams, and we're very collaborative, and we talk to our customers constantly so that we can iterate for a solution, a product that they really want. And I fell in love with Agile because I loved the speed that we were operating at. I felt like I was making a difference. I could really see what my product and how that is impacting on the customers that I was serving. Because one of the grudge that I had when I was in government was that I couldn't really see the effect of the policy or the laws that I was putting in, because we were consulting with the public, but it wasn't direct communication enough. And that measure of success is it's really time lagged. Whereas in Agile, we are getting that feedback constantly. So I felt like I was making a difference, and I was utilizing a lot of my strengths, which was to talk to people as well as to analyze problems. So I love this experience of government business accelerator. I loved it so much that the 3 months of the startup bootcamp went by really, really quickly. And I wanted to follow the footsteps of getting into Agile more. So I went back to my government department because I was on a secondment, and I told my manager, I was like, guess what? Government needs to adopt Agile. Like, this is the new thing. This is how we can know if the policies we're bringing in are affecting people in the right way. And I was too much of a rebel. I was definitely like 5 years, 7 years too early for government to adopt Agile. So I went to have this conversation with my manager and my manager's manager. And they said to me, wow, Suki, you know what? You need to be a manager in government in order to affect this type of change that you want. And I was just like, no way. I don't want to become a manager in government. That's 10 years. And I will just become one of you. And I don't want to be slow and archaic. So I quit. I quit my policy advisor role and I went into the next accelerator. This is a purely business accelerator called Lightning Lab. And I branded myself, I became the Agile consultant for the 8 startup teams that were in the next accelerator. I took major risks at the time. One of the big ones, and this is something that a lot of us think about when we move through career, is what is our pay? Is our pay going up and up and up? That's how we are measuring our success, or is our pay going down? And at the time, I took a 50% pay cut in order to go to the next accelerator as an Agile consultant. So, but then I thought, well, it's like a university degree, and I had to learn really quickly on the go, and I had to back myself up to know that I can help these startup teams with the Agile skills that I had gained from the last 3 months of accelerator. And once again, another risk that I took was that I've disappointed my family from quitting a stable government job. And the helpful mindset again at that time was like, well, what is the worst case scenario? It's actually, there's so much to gain here. There's not much to lose except for that temporary pay cut, and also a lot of stress that I put on myself to learn fast. So I was really happy in these 3 months of the Lightning Lab Accelerator. And then I got tapped on the shoulder by this Agile consultancy called Nomadic, which is a band of independent contractors or consultants that consult in this world of IT and Agile with those energy. So with those energy companies as well as like IT company, infrastructure companies. So I went into this world of IT as an Agile consultant or as a high performance coach. I started coaching teams, started from like one team to a couple of teams and into more of like a department of teams. And I moved from Nomadic, this band of independent consultants, into Xero because I felt like when I was a consultant in companies like Meridian Energy and Datacom, I was a lone wolf and I was still really early on in my Agile career. I've only had about 6 months of experience at the time. So I really wanted to go in-house so that I could be with other people that were also Agile coaches and Agile consultants. So I went into Xero. And in Xero, I was an Agile coach, like I said, for one team and then 2 teams and then a whole department of 150 to 200 people. And at the end of my tenure there, about 2.5 years to 3 years, I felt like that I was a coach of these team members, but team members would be turning up to work, but they still felt like that something was missing in their job, like a purpose was missing. And I felt like that as a coach, I was only there to help the teams to perform better, therefore that the shareholders of the companies can be happier because I was literally making more money for them by being a good coach. So something about that was not aligning to my purpose anymore. And also, by the end of my time in Xero, I felt like I was hitting the ceiling of an Agile coaching ladder. Because as an Agile coach, the next role was actually being the head of Agile. So that meant being the Agile person that looked after how teams are interacting with each other, how leaders, how the performance structure are going for the whole organization. And I had to ask myself this question of, do I actually want to be head of Agile? Because as an Agile coach, I was a coach, so I wasn't a manager. I was a leader, but I didn't have anyone that I had to manage as such. But as a head of Agile, I needed to take on people management responsibilities. And am I really suitable as a manager also? Because I'm like, no, I don't really believe in management. I believe in more leadership than management. And I think this is a question, this is something that a lot of us grapple with when we go through our career journey, is that we think that we're building up our career ladder, and there's the step, and then the next step, and the next step. And it is only logical that we would go for the next step that is on our career journey. So it is really difficult to be able to let go of this identity that we have built for ourselves and this ladder that we have worked so hard to get to the top of. So I had to do a lot of internal work at the time when I was quitting Xero to really let go of that shrine almost that I've built for myself. So I started to redefine my own grind again of looking at what I like doing. It's still the same, making a difference, increasing self-awareness and personal development of people. As a coach, I really cared more about how people are doing rather than how the teams and teams of teams are doing. So I knew that my interest lies in personal development. And from my skills, from these skills that I gained from Youthline before, and I've also added a whole bunch of new skills that I can take forward for my next role that I'm looking for myself. And I thought, wow, this time the combination of these, of what I like and then what my skills are, surely it will lead to something. And it did. It led to a more personal coach. And that's how I started my own business for asyou.org, to help people to redefine their grind, because I can really relate to employees and big companies not feeling like that this is their purpose and feeling like that they can do more with the skills that they have. And I'm proud to say that I've helped dozens of people to redefine their grind and to shift to a closer job to their dream job. So now my success definition is more follow happiness, follow what gives me joy, because that is a good indication of what is successful for me, rather than driving that success from other people's expectations or societal expectation. And I also follow fulfillment, what gives me meaning, as well as I found that a common theme in my life is every time that I've taken on a role, I want to learn. And that's why I've kept on going. And I had to let go of the expectations that I've set for myself, as well as that idea of ladder climbing. And I fell in love with taking risks so that I can always discover more, so that I moved on from what I know to more that, okay, I'm discovering what I don't know at the moment and learning. So the lessons from my career journey are, firstly, change my definition of success. That's quite important. And secondly, let go, be aware first of what those expectations are for myself or for yourself, and then let go of them deliberately so that you're not bound by them. And thirdly, take risks to discover more so that you can learn more about what you've got and build that skill set that you have so that you can take that forward. And if you would like to work on your ikigai or your free intersection of the three circles more, then you can check out my program, which is a Make Your Move program. This is like an 8-week program that you go through with me with other participants, finding out exactly what is the intersection of those three circles, as well as gaining that self-confident mindset and self-love in order for you to achieve that vision. And you can book for a free one-on-one with me to talk through whether this is suitable for you, or just to talk through about where you're at in your career. And all this information is on my website, asyou.org. So go and check that out, and then book for a free one-on-one 30-minute coaching chat with me. So I've talked a lot. Oh, am I going backwards? I don't know why I was going backwards, but here we go. Now I am ready for all your questions. Thank you.